Who's heard of Amazon.com? Amazon.com, okay. Amazon.com is a company I really admire. They create marketing everybody loves, okay? And the way they do it is this clever application of this idea of context, where I think inbound marketing is going. And so let me give you an example. When my friend Dharmesh visits Amazon.com, something very interesting happens. What they market to him are books about how to write software and how to raise a toddler. And that's very interesting that those are the two things that they're marketing to Dharmesh. Very interesting. I've known Dharmesh now for 8 years. We went to school together for a couple of years. We've been in business together for 6 years. And I wouldn't say they know him better than I do, but they know him pretty darn well. You know? They really understand what he's all about. Dharmesh is a lovable geek, right? He likes to write software. He's got a newborn baby, and he's raising a toddler. And they kind of hit the nail on the head. They really personalize that experience for him in a way that's really cool. Now, if I visited Amazon.com and they marketed those same exact books to me, that wouldn't be marketing I would love. That's not marketing people would love. That wouldn't convert me very well. Now, they do something spectacular when I visit Amazon.com. They hit the nail on the head with me, too. They don't market books about raising a toddler. They don't market to me books about writing software. I have no interest in writing software. What they market to me are books about the Grateful Dead, right? They market to me books about venture capital. They market to me books about the Red Sox. Don't give up hope. It's fascinating how they do it. It's like they're following me around all day and listening to my conversations. They nail it. And what's so cool about it is they create this context, and it's not just on their web pages. When I visit their web pages, it's all of their emails, it's their mobile devices, it's their call to action. It's very cool how they really get to know me and leverage that information they know about me to create these highly contextualized, personalized experiences. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So you might ask yourself, well, how do they do that, right? How do they do that? That's pretty clever. I'd like to do that. Well, they've got an unfair advantage. What Amazon's built kind of from the ground up is they have their front-end content systems, their web pages, their emails, their mobile, all that stuff, and they have their back-end sort of context systems, their databases, their analytics, and they're all kind of built together, and they're sort of woven together in one system. And what that does is super cool. What that does is the more I use these front-end systems, the more things I click on, the more emails I look at, the more stuff I buy, the more knowledge that context system picks up about me, and the more that context system knows about me, the more personalized that front-end system gets. And so it's that combination of the front-end content systems, the back-end context systems, that are very, very powerful. And the way I like to think about it is it's the content system is one, and you add one for the database back-end context systems, and it's kind of 1 + 1 = 3, right? It's a very modern way of doing marketing. I personally would love to be marketed like this from all of you, from HubSpot, from everyone. How do we do this sort of extreme personalization to pull people through our funnel? How do we create content to pull them in? How do we use context to pull them through? Okay? Then you might ask yourself, why doesn't everybody do this, right? It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm creating content, pulling people in. I'd like to do that. I'd like it so that when people visit my site, I start to learn about them, and every time they visit my site, every time they click on my blog, every time they interact with me, I learn something about them, and the next time they come back, my site, my blog, my emails, they get smarter over time, just like Amazon. The more you use it, the smarter it gets, the more personalized it gets, the more you want to use it. Well, there's an issue with that. And the issue is that most companies have their content on one system and their context on another system. And they've basically got a broken heart. Right? They've got a broken heart. And it's damn hard to create marketing people love when you've got a broken heart. Okay? Come on, that was pretty good. But seriously, what most companies have is they have these separate, and they've got really nice content systems for creating content and blogging and all this stuff, and really nice context systems, but they don't really talk to each other, and they don't have this network effect that the more I use the front end, the smarter it gets, the more personalized it gets. And that's sort of like a 1 + 1 = 2 situation, where I've got two different systems, they're both very powerful, but they don't really communicate, and I don't really get that leverage I'm looking for, that magic. So we talked to a lot of marketers about this, and the reality is this isn't really what most marketers' systems look like. They're much, much worse, right? They've got a really broken heart, and it's really hard to create marketing people love when you've got a heart that's split into a million pieces. And what this sort of looks like for most marketers out there, not all of you, but many marketers out there, is you've got 4 or 5 different pieces of really nice marketing software. You've got 4 or 5 different logins, you've got 4 or 5 different user interfaces you have to learn, you've got 4 or 5 different 1-800 numbers you have to remember, 4 or 5 different big bills you have to pay every month. It's kind of a nightmare. And then you have to hire a bunch of developers and try to figure out how to glue all this stuff together so you can create this next generation sort of inbound marketing, this context to pull people through. And so this is the state of the industry. This is 99.9% of marketers out there. They have this very disjointed, fragmented, a lot of systems on the front end, a lot of systems on the back end. They can't create this magic of context and personalization. So you might say to yourself, okay, Halligan, that's interesting. What about you? What about HubSpot? Well, the reality of HubSpot is we don't have it either, right? HubSpot's very good at creating content. We pulled all of you in with our clever content. We're very, very clever about that. But we're not particularly good that when you visit our site the second, third, fourth time, that we get to know you and we start to personalize that and really start to do sort of Amazon-style marketing. And so we've got a hole in our heart. Got a hole in our heart. Come on, that's pretty good too. Okay? And the hole in our heart is this context engine, this Amazon-style context system. Okay? And so we've realized we've had this hole in our heart. And at the end of Inbound last year, we sat down with our product folks and we said, let's fix that hole in our heart. And so we spent the last year, pretty much our whole R&D staff, which is like 70 or 80 people, it's a big team, working our backs off, cranking away, putting the last piece of the puzzle into what we think HubSpot needs, this sort of context engine. It's a series of new applications we built sort of from the ground up to enable you to do sort of this next generation marketing a la Amazon. We're super, super psyched about it. We're working on it for 12 months. It's pretty awesome. And it's our biggest release in HubSpot. It's by far our biggest release in HubSpot history. And it's so big that for the first time ever in HubSpot history, we put a number on it. So I don't know if you know at HubSpot, we never put a number on it. But in this case, because we're able to really nail this problem, create this context engine. And what the context engine does is sort of listen to what your users are doing in social media, on your blog, on your emails, and on your website, and use that information to learn about you, and then really personalize that experience. That's been the missing piece for us. We're so excited about combining that content and context and creating that 1 + 1 = 3 effect that we're naming this new release HubSpot 3. Biggest release in HubSpot history.